go ahead and call the city council meeting order for June 15th. Let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could you take roll call, please, John?
Yes, Councillor Maiden.
Muted.
Watching by video.
Thank you, Councillor Smallwood.
Absent.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yep, Councillor Sheldon.
Excuse absence.
Thank you, Councillor Ramsayer.
Here.
Councillor Hanlon.
Here.
Councillor Hokinson.
Here.
Mayor Walker.
Here. Thank you. We have on tonight's agenda, we have the consent agenda with the meeting minutes, Mountain Festival and Music Fair and Feast approvals, and a resolution updating our bank signatories at Clackamas County. The resolutions we have tonight are on updating the master fee schedule and expanding the utility customer assistance program. And new business is the city council goals status update. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, let's go ahead. Do we have any public comment?
I didn't receive any signups today. Yeah.
Anybody want to have any public comment? Okay. Do we have any response to previous comments?
We had one person provide public comment at the last meeting. That was Janet Davis. There wasn't any questions asked. It was just thanking the city for their hard work on the facility plan amendment. So
There are some follow-up action items.
there's follow-up action items. Yes, AJ's reached out to her to get the CPO meeting dates. And once we have the final draft of the facility plan amendment approved from EPA, we'll print a hard copy and get that from the library as well. Thank you, Councilor.
Okay. I have the consent agenda. As I said, it has the meeting minutes from our June 8th meeting, the Mountain Festival approvals for road use closures, use of mining park, noise exemptions, and things like that. We've got also the Music Fair and Feast approvals for the use of the plaza, the noise exception, approved ODOT application, city road closure, and those kind of things. And finally, the resolution updating bank signatories for Clackamas County Bank based on Tyler leaving. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So that's the consent agenda. May I have a
Tyler
motion?
Wallace, for anyone who was listening.
Say what?
Wallace, for
Oh,
anyone who was
right.
listening.
Oh,
Not me.
yeah.
I'm still here.
Yeah. So may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will second the motion.
I have a motion from Councillor Hanley and a second from Councillor Ramsayer to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, the
Can we-
next,
Can we just pause for a second, say good luck
yes,
on the Mountain Festival and all those cool things coming up?
Yeah.
Excited. Should be a good summer.
is there anything else we can do to kind of help with the event? Or is Lindy, you're probably still working with them on the events and going to the meetings and stuff? That's great.
You've got the best.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Good.
We're thankful for her too.
Yeah. Well, she kind of knows who does what, so it's just helpful to kind of get things, questions resolved and all. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. All right. Well, you're welcome to stay for our other things if you want, or you can sneak out if you have other things.
Thank you, and I'll see you guys at Mountain Festival.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, did I get you a script?
Yes, you did. I have it right here.
Great.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the public hearing for resolution 2026-12, updating the master fee schedule. For folks in the audience or online, the opportunity to offer public testimony for this hearing will occur after the staff report concludes. Let's open the public hearing for resolution 2026-12 at 7:51. Are there any abstentions to declare? Hearing none, are there any conflicts of interest to declare? Hearing none, may we please hear the staff report?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I am going to break this down sort of section by section as we go, so just bear with me as I do that. Just as a sort of background or some context here, every year the city looks at the master fee schedule, which includes all of the fees that the city charges and makes adjustments where necessary. For the last probably 8 or so years, we've been trying to do annual increases tied to the consumer price index. So we're avoiding these large increases every 5 or 10 years like we historically had done before that. And so one of the categories that we routinely bring back year after year are planning and building fees. We have a proposed 2.6% increase to all of the planning and building fees. Some of those are rounded up to the nearest dollar because we just, in practice, kept them at round numbers, not a bunch of pennies or cents on there. So nothing really exciting in this category. It's just that standard CPI increase that we've done annually for planning and building fees. The next category of changes includes miscellaneous charges. Really, this is just focused on updating the fee that we charge for any public records requests. In practice, if it's a nominal, 15, 20 minutes of time, we're just processing those. We don't charge fees for that. These are the more in-depth records requests that take substantial staff review, attorney review. And so we have 2 different categories for that. There's an administrative charge, which is more of our front counter staff or lower level manager staff that are handling those. And then there's the executive fee, which is department heads or city managers. So we have those broken out in 2 different costs. And then of course the legal review or attorney time is still billed at cost. So we're not absorbing that cost internally. And the dollars that you see for those charges are not just hourly wages, but it includes the taxes and benefits in that. So it's an all-encompassing value there. The next category is public works fees. Primarily, this is looking at updating the the meter installation fee. It's currently at $775. We're proposing to move that up to $815, which is the actual cost of the meter installation for the value of the meter, as well as the staff time it takes to install the meter. And so, not a moneymaker here. This is just cost recovery for us when we need to install those meters. The meat of this discussion is probably going to be water and wastewater rates. I'm going to skip those and talk about police and parks and rec, just because I think those are 2 easier categories we can get through without a lot of questions, probably. In the section for police fees, we're proposing inflationary increases for police reports, fingerprinting, background checks, DVDs and CDs. Believe it or not, they still occasionally get a request for those types of digital materials. We also are proposing updating or adding rather a no charge fee when a victim is requesting a copy of a police report. If you are just a neighbor that's curious about what happened, you would still pay that fee. But if you are the victim of a crime and requesting a copy, we're proposing a no charge fee for that. And it seems like it's the least we can do if you're just trying to get the appropriate documentation that you need for whatever civil or criminal case that you are navigating through and need a copy of that report. And then I think it's just important to know that the last time any of the fees in the police department were adjusted was 2010. So this is one of those areas that has not had routine updates. We are going to get that on the list, in that rolling sort of CPI increase like we do for planning and building fees going forward. But trying to get caught up in terms of what our police fees are. And then parks and recreation fees, this is just proposing new fees for renting the spaces at Deer Point Park. So in all of our other parks, we explicitly call out the park and the shelter name. We didn't have Deer Point in the fee schedule because we didn't have Deer Point when we were doing this a year ago. So this is just adding, excuse me, adding Deer Point Park, such as their, covered picnic area and the shelter that's there. And so similar practice, we're not changing any of our policies or practices around rentals, just acknowledging that shelter exists now and that we have a rental opportunity there. Any questions on any of those before I jump in? Okay. The next category we can talk about is the water utility charges. So back in March, we did a comprehensive summary and status update on all of our water infrastructure projects. That's when we We're happy to report that project costs were coming in lower than we had originally budgeted with with the water program. Ultimately, we're looking at a $55 million all-in project now in water instead of the 70 million that we started that capital project, our capital reinvestment campaign with. During that time, on March 2nd, we discussed what that reduction in the project cost meant for the rates. And so in the current biennium, we had budgeted 11.5% in year one and 11% in year two. The proposed rate increase that's before you this evening is 7%. Certainly still a larger number than we would like to see, but it's much less than what we had originally planned on and what was originally adopted in the budget a little over a year ago. So we're happy to see those cost savings on the capital side come in and actually see a direct result or benefit to the ratepayer in terms of not as high as it could be. One of the questions that's come up historically in terms of just rate increases and what does it actually mean? I did throw a paragraph in here in the staff report that just talks about what our expected annual debt service payments are going to be in the next 5 years and what we currently collect in rate revenue. So trying to paint the picture that where we're at today, excuse me, where we're at today is not sustainable or sufficient to cover our debt obligations for loans that we've already entered into. And so really trying to just be clear that we need to do these incremental rate increases so that we can continue to be compliant with our loan agreements and have the adequate funding source coming in so that we can make those debt service payments once we enter full repayment. Goodness, it's a mouthful. And then just to note or to button up the water side of things, the average customer uses about 700 cubic feet of water per month. And so that average customer will see an increase of about $5.50 on their monthly utility bill. And then on the wastewater side of things, which is maybe a little more in your recent memory since we've had back-to-back meetings on wastewater. We started back in early May with the comprehensive review of the facility plan amendment. And then we had an open house for community members. And then ultimately the facility plan amendment was adopted just last Monday. We have a preferred alternative that is groundwater recharge, which is substantially less expensive than some of the other alternatives that were being presented, although still very, very costly, no doubt about that. In the existing biennial budget, we had a 15% increase budgeted in year one and a 14% rate increase budgeted in year two. The proposal before you this evening is 12%, not as favorable as that savings that we're seeing on the water side of things, but it's still a step in the right direction. There's another paragraph in the staff report about debt service and annual wastewater rate revenue, and you'll see that without these increases, we just won't be able to make future debt service payments. And so it's pretty imperative that we do these incremental increases so that we are generating enough revenue so that we can maintain compliance with our debt agreements. For the average wastewater customer using that 700 cubic feet of water, their bill is expected to increase about $11.84 per month. And that is all I have, but happy to answer any questions or what you
For the budget, anticipated in the budget as well, right? These
No, yeah.
increases.
Those larger rate increases were what were adopted in the budget at 15 and 14%. So we're a little bit under what was budgeted. I did say that.
I apologize.
That's okay. I repeated it.
Questions? Comments? Okay,
I have a quick question. Sorry.
do we do the hearing first?
Yeah, testimony first,
Yep.
please. Yeah.
Okay, so, did I read this?
No, we haven't read the instructions
Okay.
yet.
I've read the same things, it's only last week. Okay, so for folks in the audience or online, the opportunity to offer public testimony for this hearing will occur after the staff report concludes. Let's open the public hearing for resolution 2026-12.
I apologize, Mayor.
That's
We've
okay.
done this part.
Okay,
It's
got it.
just
Okay.
the part at the bottom
Okay.
where it's the instructions for public
Each
testimony.
person- I'm sorry. I was like-
Feels awfully familiar.
Okay, yeah,
It's
I know, I was
not
like,
today.
7:51, I think is the time.
Yeah.
Here's the process for public testimony. Each person providing testimony must provide their name, address, and for the record. If you do not wish to state your address publicly, you must provide it to the city recorder before you begin your testimony. This can be done either in person or via email at recorder@ci.sandy.or.us. If you have documents that you wish to be considered by the court, they must be formally placed into the record of this hearing. To do that, either before or after you speak, email your materials to recorder@ci.sandy.or.us, and staff will make sure your evidence is properly processed. Please try to avoid repetition. If someone else has expressed the same thoughts, it is fine to simply state that you agree with the testimony of a previous reader. To offer public testimony, for those joining us in the person this evening, please raise your hand to indicate you would like to speak. If you're attending online, click the raise hand button and wait to be recognized. If you're on the telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized. I will call on each person when it is their turn to speak. Each speaker will receive up to 5 minutes to testify. The city recorder will let you know when you have 20 seconds remaining. Is there anyone here tonight who would like to testify? Jeff, is there anybody online who would like to testify?
There is one hand up, Mayor.
Very good.
I don't know the name, but we'll go ahead and allow this person to unmute themselves, and please state your name and address for the record, as the mayor said, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, this is Art O'Leary, and I live at 40495 Fawn Street here in Sandy. I think that's all the information you wanted. Full disclosure, I am a planning commissioner, and I was on the most recent city budget committee. My questions are about this notion of raising fees based on the consumer price index. Generally, that's great. My specific concern is development and SDCs that we are charging enough to upgrade and maintain our infrastructure, which is mostly the obvious water and sewer, but of course there's also street improvements, light poles, et cetera. I feel like the city has a history of those developers underpaying, and I feel like that's a big part of how we've gotten to the pickle that we're in now. And I know fees have been increased, or at least there's been talk of it. But when I hear their fees are going up according to inflation, basically, I am concerned. It's probably not quite as much of a concern right now since we're under the moratorium. But as we see more development, will the current fees plus the inflation rise actually cover their portion of the impact to the infrastructure as we move forward, or is this on the backs of ratepayers and taxpayers to cover for more of that development? In other words, I know a lot of this ship has sailed, but I'm concerned that we don't continue down that path where current residents are paying for the impacts of future development.
Can I take that?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. O'Leary. So first, I'd like to just take a moment to say that the system development charges have recently been increased for both water and wastewater. That's not a part of tonight's package. Just want to make that clear. Those increases to water and wastewater SDCs were specific to the revised capital improvement plan that's included in the methodology that has been updated to reflect the current costs of those projects. And those SDCs calculate the percentage of growth that is eligible for, or excuse me, the methodology calculates the percentage of growth for each project and what can be attributed to new development versus what should be attributed to existing residents in terms of repairs and maintenance and, you know, the existing capacity of that plant. And so the current rates that we have adopted for water and wastewater SDCs address that capacity enhancement portion that I just mentioned. Our municipal code does allow for incremental annual indexing based on the engineer news record construction cost index based out of Seattle annually. We haven't done that for the last couple of years because we were in the midst of updating and revising the methodology and the appropriate rate itself, but we will be going forward, getting back into that routine annual process of doing, or at least proposing those increases based on the ENR CCI. Does that help answer your question?
He's muted again.
Oh,
Would you like me to?
yeah.
Hi. There we go. Mr. O'Leary, did you have any further?
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry about that. Yes, that does answer my question. I was hoping for an answer along those lines, and I really think it helps for the community to have all of that information clearly stated. So thank you for allowing me this time.
One other thing, if I may,
Go
Mayor,
ahead.
sort of piggybacking off of what Mr. O'Leary just asked. Much of the rate modeling that we do requires sort of, guaranteed revenue coming in, right? SDCs ebb and flow with the times, with construction, with interest rates, all the things. And so our loan agreements are based on a debt coverage ratio that revenue you can count on, which is rate revenue in this example. Part of our ongoing annual review process of rates is looking at what have we collected in SDCs in the prior year? Can those funds be used to pay off any debt early? Can it be used to cash fund a portion of the project? Do we want to sit and let that build up a little bit more so that you do have a larger, chunk of cash to pay for a project or retire debt early? So that's all part of our internal work that we do to determine what's the best way to handle those SDC dollars that are coming in. We certainly don't want to just have cash sitting at the bank and not utilize it for projects, but we also need to be cognizant that, we got $100,000 in SDC revenue. That's not moving the needle on an annual debt service payment of a $40 million loan. So trying to just really strike the right balance between how much do we hold on to in cash for smaller projects versus what do we use to retire debt early if the debt that you're retiring early was SDC eligible to begin with. That goes without saying, obviously we're reviewing that as well. So sort of a couple of puzzle pieces that are moving at the same time, but that's part of the annual rate setting commitment that staff has made to the council, is making sure that whatever cash we have on hand from SDCs are being used appropriately and timely to alleviate any additional burden that may be placed on the ratepayers.
Okay, are there any other comments?
Well, I don't see any other hands up.
Okay, all right.
I move that we close the public hearing.
I have a motion to close the public hearing. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilor Hoganson and a second from Councilor Mayton to close the public hearing. Everyone, all those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Vote nay. Motion passes. Can the staff please give us a recap and recommendation?
Thank you. Recap is that there are several different categories of fees that the city charges being proposed this evening for increases. Many of them are based on CPI or modest cost recovery for staff time. The two large components of this resolution include water and wastewater rates. The proposed increases are less than what was built into the budget due to project cost reductions. And I think the last item, or the last thing I would say is that failure to do annual rate increases in this time of significant infrastructure reinvestment would likely have a detrimental impact on the timeline in which we can complete our projects, as well as our obligations that we have to repay existing executed loan agreements.
Okay, thank you. Questions and comments?
I have a question. It's unfortunately, it spans the next resolution that we're going to talk about. When we talk about utility customer assistance programs and whatever reduction in the rate they pay, how does that play into the rate models that you use to calculate the drinking water and the wastewater rates?
Great question. So going back in time when we first adopted the utility customer assistance program, we had no idea what the take rate would be. We didn't factor that in at all 6 years ago when we first went live with that. We do now know how many people are taking it. It's been a very slow rollout. We had 30 for the first couple of years. We're higher than that now, still less than 100. And so there's just a little bit of best guess, frankly. We know what we have currently enrolled. We know that we're expanding it and we're expecting that we'll have additional enrollees based on assuming you adopt that resolution following this. So it's just a minor rate revenue reduction.
So just to clarify though, is it, for those reductions in rates, are they funded from the general fund then? Or are they just rolled into the actual rate model?
It's just rolled into the actual rate model for the relevant utility.
Then question, do those rates reflect the change that would be on the next resolution?
Do the rates in the rate model reflect the change that's in the
The
next
proposed
resolution?
rates that we have, do they reflect that potential increase, probable increase?
I think it captures a portion of that increase. It does not capture the entirety of that. Because what I think might happen is maybe another 50 enrollees. I think we kind of split the difference there and calculated about 25 new enrollees.
So we would just true it up
We'll have to
in the
true it
next
up
year?
next year.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good question. Chris, you have any comments or thoughts or questions?
Nope, I'm good.
My question actually had to do with the rate changes or the rate reduction.
That's still, I'm sorry.
Terrible timing. No, but I'll ask a follow-up question on the next one. Thank you.
Okay.
One of the things that took me by surprise was the fact that we have to have that 1.5,
The coverage ratio.
coverage ratio. Can you kind of explain that again, just to kind of clarify what that means? Because it's kind of a aha, it's like, well, we got to make enough money to make our car payment and our house payment and all that. But this is far more than that.
Yeah.
And it goes into what makes our
So I think
fees.
that's a great example, right? You have a salary, you got to pay your house payment, your car payment, but you also need to buy groceries. And the bank doesn't look at how much you spend in groceries, but they know that you need some cushion above your monthly payments to pay for all the other living expenses. Our loan agreements are no different than that. We have, the mandatory annual debt service that we have, but we also have normal operations and maintenance, repairs, utilities, salaries. And so when we go and enter into a new loan agreement, the lending agency is typically looking for a coverage ratio of 1.5. So you are making, you got $10 million in debt service, you need to be generating $15 million in revenue, just as an easy math example. And that is to make sure you have adequate, cash to pay your ongoing just day-to-day expenditures. They also like to see that there's some contingency in those relevant funds when we're going through the loan issuance process, because inevitably something happens, right? You need some contingency for the unexpected repair that needs to be made.
Revenue will go up or down.
Revenue will go up or down. Certainly during, the early months of COVID when we stopped doing our shut-off process, rightfully so, but we saw our delinquent accounts rise just incredibly high for a period of time. And so having that sort of float, so to speak, in the rate model is what the lending agencies really need to see so that they know that we are a stable, reliable person or entity that can remake or repay those debts.
Okay. I'm gonna go on the record now, just talking a little bit about some of the concerns that I have about these, increases in our rates and what I think we need to be doing to mitigate that where possible. I think that we've already done some of it, we basically, when costs came in on our projects less than we, under budget, we took that and we gave it back to the ratepayers. And we also, that then led us to kind of reduce the SDC slightly to reflect that, everybody kind of getting a bump from the saved money. We also, it's a little bit more difficult or complex, but when we get these allocations from the state and the feds for money, it takes a while for it to roll in, and you get it this year, but you don't see it for several years after. So, it's like we want to take credit for getting it, but it doesn't hit your bank account right away, unfortunately. But I really want to make sure that we are that we're getting those funds as quickly as possible, but also that we're understanding kind of, that question I've asked is for every $1 million of extra funding we get from the state or the feds, what does that do to our fees? And so there's some things that I kind of want to try to make more transparent to so that we can understand how we're getting these fees developed, because it's kind of a black box right now. And I'm learning more about the black box and trying to kind of figure it out, but I want it to be transparent for all of us. And so, like I said, I want to understand, this 1.5 factor. I want to understand the other thing that we're going to be looking at, I think, in the future is, we currently pay consultants to run our wastewater treatment plant and also our water treatment plant.
Correct.
And so we're considering taking that back in the future possibly, and just, but because we still have a fairly big staff of public works folks. And so just trying to understand, can we save additional money there? And what does that do to our utility rates? And then we have some additional future projects that were on our CIP list, and how soon we have to do those. It's like they've been on there for a while, but now we've done all these other things. And so those things maybe they still stay on the list, but they don't have to be done in the next 10 years or something. So we could bump those down further. So I'm just I want us all to kind of understand all these different complexities that go into the black box and then spit out the utility rates. So my goal and promise is to kind of help us get there, and with the help of Tyler and AJ and all those other folks, to just try to kind of understand it, but also be able to kind of, ask the hard questions and say, can we reduce this more? And I'll obviously request more state, federal money. So I think that's really important to making sure that we can keep an eye on these fees. I know we've got a lot of projects coming online and we have to pay for them. And it's, the reality here, the bottom line is that when we approve a wastewater plan amendment last week, this week we gotta, we can't just say, well, no, I don't want to increase the fees and not make the decision to not pay for it. That's not how things work in this world. So if you buy the car, you gotta come up with the car payments. So, yeah. Any other comments or questions from anybody?
Can I add just one
Yeah, please do.
piece, onto what you just said? The federal and state money that we've gotten, very grateful for any additional funding that we get from those entities. But to your point about timeline, we were awarded that $5 million last year through the state. Those funds are supposed to be funded through lottery bond sales, which won't happen until 2027. So when we're talking about a delay, it's significant. It could be years before the city gets those funds. And then all of those funding sources are reimbursement based. So we're shelling out millions of dollars, up front, and then getting reimbursed for our actual expenditures. We don't just get mailed a $5 million check from the state that we deposit and not a big like publisher clearinghouse check. So, I don't want this to, sound ungrateful for those additional funds that we've gotten, because I certainly appreciate them. I know the council appreciates them, but just in terms of timeline, it's not a quick and efficient process. And so that's the other, wrinkle in these rate models is great. We got awarded money here, but when will we actually get it back? And so what do you need to generate in revenue to offset those expenditures in the short term before you get, your reimbursements? And so there's a lot of moving pieces. And the delays on reimbursements can add complexity that is.
But I like the
unfortunate.
idea, though, that we're making the box a little bit more flexible, that, when we get the SDCs in, we, put it in there. And when we finally get the funds in from grants, the state or feds, we put it in there. And because I think it's important to count all that stuff. Great. Any other questions for anybody? May I get a motion?
Yeah, read it now. I move to adopt resolution 2016-13.
2026,
2026-13.
12.
Nope.
12.
Wait a minute, am I on the right one?
Oh, I'm on the wrong one too.
You skipped
Oh,
ahead.
I did. I was
Thanks, Tim.
next one. Well,
Would you like to restate your
I would like
previous
to
motion?
rescind my motion and make a new motion to adopt resolution 2026-12.
I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion from Counselor Hoganson and a second from Counselor Hanley to adopt resolution 2026-12. All those in favor? Vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Vote nay. Motion passes.
Counselor Mayton was muted, but if I read your lips correctly, I think you voted aye.
I did. Aye. I was just trying to be quiet.
Okay, next on the item is the utility assistance plan. I'm hopeful that that's gonna
13 this time.
13, yeah, get some, get some help out to some of our ratepayers.
Absolutely.
Let's hear more
So,
about that.
didn't realize this was turning into the Tyler show when we put this agenda together, but you got stuck with me this evening, even more so than usual. So back in 2020, when we first did our that first initial wastewater rate increase, shortly after that, we adopted a utility customer assistance program, which provided low-income families with eligible document or with appropriate documentation the ability to get a 50% rate reduction on their wastewater charges on their utility bill. And then for about 3 years, 3.5 years or so, it stayed just on the wastewater side. We then moved into our heavy lift on water reinvestment work and saw some significant rate increases on the water side of things. And then we expanded that customer assistance program to include a 50% reduction on wastewater and on water charges. So that's been in place now for about 3 years. And it's been, successful for those that are currently enrolled. We have 95 accounts enrolled currently. As I mentioned earlier, it started off 30 to 40 for several years, and then we've seen, I think, as we've done the last couple of years of rate increases, we've tried to push out this program more to make sure people were aware of it. So we've seen a little bit of an uptick in the take rate. What we're proposing before you this evening, though, is a modest revision in the program guidelines. So historically, we had the eligibility criteria at 185% of the Department of Health and Human Services poverty guidelines for a household of 2 individuals. And that number in today's dollars would be equivalent to $40,034 per year in annual income. What we hear from many people that call into the utility department asking about this program is, oh, well, my wife and I both work, or my husband and I both work. We've got 2 little kids, but we're stuck on this 2-person threshold in my household. Why isn't it larger? Why can't we get some extra relief? And those have been comments that we've heard really since the beginning, but they were few and far between. We're starting to hear more comments like that. And so we did some digging. The cities that have a program similar to this are kind of all over the place. There's not a one-size-fits-all approach. This is our first, take at a revision to this program in terms of the eligibility criteria. And so what we're proposing before you this evening is to set the minimum household size at 2. So you could be a household of 1 or 2 people and fall into that 2-person category. We were trying to be cognizant of not negatively impacting those that are currently enrolled. A single senior citizen that has been enrolled under the 2-person guidelines. We didn't want to say, well, you're only going to be eligible as a family of 1 now and have them be negatively impacted. I think those are pretty few and far between anyways, but I don't think we have a lot of those. But that have an incremental increase to households of 3 or households of 4, which gets the income threshold up to $61,050 for eligibility. We did discuss what it would look like to go up to 6 or 8. Where do you draw the line? This is our first line that we've drawn. I think it's a good rollout, see how many additional property owners or utility customers take advantage of this. That'll also give us some time to evaluate and make sure that we haven't bitten off more than we can chew. That, if it is 50 people that take up on this program, the expansion of the program, but we've only reflected about 25 in the rate model, we want to have that time to adjust. And so this kind of gives us a little bit of an on-ramp to see, is this working for those that are most in need? If it is, fantastic. If there's further improvements or modifications we can make, we'll certainly bring those back in the future, similar to what we've done the last 2 times we've brought revisions back. happy to answer any questions, but that's sort of the flyover there.
Question for Jeff. So we don't have a hearing for this resolution, right? Or,
That's correct, because it's not setting a
It's not.
fee.
right, got it.
Right.
Just want to make sure. Okay,
I will also, I'm sorry, I should
Yeah.
have said this. I think the current program criteria was probably written flexible enough for me to administratively do this, but I wanted to take the opportunity to present it to council, get your support, and then also just have it, documented in terms of a formal resolution and in the meeting minutes that we discussed this program, that we are proposing a modification to it. So just trying to make it a little more formal than just administratively making some changes behind the scenes.
Can I clarify that this is residential only, not our commercial customers?
Correct.
We probably should clarify on our webpage.
We can clarify that on the webpage. I know it does specifically note that in the resolution itself. But
And
we
it's-
can update
And then
the
it's a 50% reduction in the fee, right?
in the water and wastewater component of the bill, yes.
It's definitely something I want to revisit in a few months or a year. Just to make sure we're not shifting the burden too much on everybody else to pay for it.
I can certainly, we're heading into another goal setting and then budget again next year. So we could bring back a 6-month check-in when we do goal setting in early 2027 and just talk about the new enrollees and what that equates to in the reduction in revenue.
Right. Just make sure that this doesn't become a right that we can't roll back. We need to financially.
I'm hopeful that, if we have, considering some of the things that we're talking about doing for the city as far as, the cameras and things like that, if we do have additional funding that comes to the city, that my thoughts are to spend them on things like this, where we're trying to reduce, help people out, help the most needy people out and reduce utility rates, so. We have a resolution? Motion?
I move to adopt resolution 2026-13.
Second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion from Council Ramsayer and a second from Council Hokinson to adopt resolution 2026-13 to expand the utility assistance program. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion passes. Okay, thank you. I have a little bit of a go back. I just have a question on the fees.
Yes.
Okay, so remember like the whole idea about those folks that were out there on whatever subdivision that were getting kind of stealing good rates? Did that ever get looked into?
The out of city rates.
Well, it was certain areas like were, yeah,
Yes, so staff has looked into the water rates that are set by separate agreement or separate contract. There is some language in there that specifies the time of year in which a review of their rates or increase or decrease, I guess, if there was a decrease in rates, which is not being proposed, can take place. And so that is on our list for this fall when the contract specifically allows for that renegotiation or revision of rates for them.
so what you've proposed is you've got single family reduced, which I assume is the assistance utility fee.
Yep.
Multifamily, commercial, industrial, wholesale, single family outside city limits, and commercial industrial. And you used to be calling out one or two particular neighborhoods that were paying $2 or $4 or something. And it's not showing now. And so I don't need an answer now, but I just do want to kind of find out if that didn't change and that's why it's not on here or what.
Yeah, there's no change being proposed to them since we're outside of the current rate revision timeline that's allowed in the contract.
Okay,
So this resolution, appendix A to the resolution.
Yeah.
Or exhibit A rather to the resolution is only showing the fees that are being modified.
Right.
But we have it's on the calendar for this fall. When
well,
the
yeah, like I
contract
said,
allows for it.
I just, it went up for everybody else, but not for them. And so I just feel like we need to be renegotiating those rates. And I get that it's not a huge amount of people, and so the money's not a huge amount of money, but it's just the principle of the thing that they're paying so far less than we are paying. And it's just doesn't, I can't justify that at all. So hopefully that's coming in the next year, because
Yep.
we need to kind of get them more on the outside of city limits category, in my opinion, but
Yeah, I
okay.
think in the future, I would not recommend that we enter into separate contracts with separate
Yeah,
wholesale water providers. Like, here is the rate.
Yeah.
This is the rate that predates all of us. Yeah, so we
right,
are.
but it's like, we don't have to do that every year. We can kind of renegotiate, and I get it that it's based on their location, or they're closer to the source or whatever. And it's like, well, we don't get to pay because I'm closer to the, tap than, anybody else. We have to pay for the whole thing in average. So,
Yeah, but we will have that as a discussion later this fall.
okay. Like I said, I'm sure it's not gonna save us from, anyway, it's just the principle. Okay, let's see, back to the agenda, the council goals.
All right, so the last time we talked about council goals in a comprehensive setting was in November of 2025. I am not going to go through every single goal and read an update for you. There is an attachment that has every goal and an update. It is a little bit of small print, so you might have to zoom in. I know I had to. But I just wanted to highlight a few accomplishments that we've been able to achieve over the last 6 months or so. The first is completing construction on Deer Point Park, signing the construction contract with the contractor doing the work in Mining Park that will be completed later this summer. And so we've, really been able to tie up some of those loose ends in terms of park projects that were identified as council goals. Another goal was to develop a clear policy for ERU allocation that is strategically aligned with the city's interests. We adopted in May the Development Allocation Program, the DAP. If you hear any of us on this side of the room say DAP, Development Allocation Program, as part of Moratorium 5.0. We finally, after years and years and years, have the facility plan amendment that was adopted last week. And then in terms of the other wastewater projects that we're actively working on, all of the projects that are noted, so UV upgrades, North Side Pump Station, expansion of the equalization basin, and there's one more now that I'm forgetting off the top of my head that were all part of the work that needed to be done to get the next 190 ERUs are all actively moving towards completion and expected to be completed by this fall. So that'll trigger us to get that 190 ERUs released. We've talked internally and with legal to sort of grease the wheels on that process. And so we're working on that behind the scenes as well. Not in terms of cutting corners, but just let's get everything in motion so that when we have completed those projects, we're ready to go instead of, okay, we're done, and then waiting for a long review and that sort of thing. So I'm really pleased with the work that staff's doing, throughout the entire organization. We've got a lot of really big projects ahead of us, some that are winding up, some that are just getting started. But in terms of accomplishing council goals and making progress on all of them, I think we're doing pretty darn good. At that November meeting, we did talk about a couple of items that needed to be brought back to council. And so we do have a few things scheduled for later this summer. The Pleasant Street Master Plan, I don't have the goal number in front of me, but that was a topic that we wanted to bring back. So we've got that scheduled for September of this year. There was also a desire to update the municipal code even further to make sure that all of the infractions were aligned. So a Class A, Class B, Class C, so that there was consistency throughout the document. That's coming before you in August, I believe. Had some other, transportation related council goals. So we'll have at least one discussion around DeBarco Road on August 3rd. We do have the pavement condition index on the website now as well. That was a council goal to have more transparency around that condition index, or study rather. I can send that link to all of you so you can find it easier than going to the website, but it's published, it's online. And we're also working to put together that second bid package for street resurfacing this summer that we'll be bringing back before you in the coming weeks. So lots of moving parts, but I think overall
Summer's like half done, man.
I know,
Okay.
we're
See, that we're still in school.
it feels like it's half done, I know. But we're moving, full steam ahead on these things that we have the ability to do so on. And we'll continue to bring back, further updates. So no action item for you on this. Happy to answer any questions on anything specific. But really just wanted to get something in front of you to let you know where we're at with things.
Wow. It is pretty amazing to see all the progress that's been done.
Can I ask a question on 713?
Yes.
Design and complete ADA ramps along Highway 211 as required by jurisdictional transfer agreement. It says in progress. Is there work actually happening along 211?
No, so it's in progress in the sense that there's some design work that needs to happen.
So it's government.
So it's government progress. It's not sitting on a shelf doing nothing. We've got a timeline of next September that it has to be completed.
Sorry.
So it's future, maybe it should be orange, it's not red, it's not future work because we're doing stuff with it, but it's maybe not visible progress that you can actually see when you're driving down the road.
Okay, no, as long as it's actually happening. When will this come back?
The work will take place next summer, so probably
Okay.
spring, I would imagine, late spring. The agreement that we have states, I believe it's September of 27 when the work needs to be done. For anyone that's listening in, or for those of you on the council that
Can you
aren't
add the
familiar.
date for something like that has
Yeah.
a must finish by to that description? Oh, actually you did. It's over in the notes. Never
It
mind.
On
just
the
says
blue and
summer
yellow,
of
or-
27,
It's in
but
the
I can-
notes. It's in the notes. Yeah, that's fine. Never mind. I'm
Okay.
done.
For those of you that maybe aren't familiar with that project, ODOT's been replacing all of the ADA ramps throughout downtown. It's going to be similar to that, replacing existing ADA ramps to make sure they're compliant with the new standards. And then there's a couple new ramps that need to be installed. Will there be sidewalks between them? No, because that's just not what we received funding from ODOT for when we took jurisdictional transfer. But we did get $500,000 from them when we took ownership of that road. And that's what we'll be funding.
So we won't put a crosswalk in the DeBarco, but we'll give you a beautiful ramp.
Well, we are going to talk about DeBarco intersection improvements in August.
Okay, all right. I'm
So,
excited.
Yeah.
yes.
So speaking of crosswalks, it's what's going on right now gonna be done before Mountain Festival, or is it just gonna continue to be you can't, is it at Meinig, right by your house? The whole lane is blocked. I just,
There's
Ruben's
room for
mess,
one car,
too.
just one of the directions at a
I
time.
mean, if a car's coming this way, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going there.
Well, because now machinery's parked right
Yeah,
in front of the house, so I don't know how buses are getting
I
through there
pulled-
at all.
I drove through there today coming here and
Luckily, we just went to.
it's one car wide.
So it just feels like they kind of do a little bit of stuff and then they're gone and it's just leave all this,
So
unfinished work. And I get that, they have different contractors coming in, doing all the excavation, and then somebody else comes in and puts all the rock and concrete, is a different.
There's a 20-foot crater on Reuben between the lanes, new AutoZone, a lane, a huge hole. It's a huge. If somebody's not paying attention,
Is
So-
that part of this?
yes.
Who is from the city of Sandy is working with the ODOT contractor directly on this?
Do they tell us?
I mean, we got a heads up that, hey, we're coming in to do the work, but it's not our project on 26. It's not,
No, but it's our
right
problem. I mean,
away.
yeah, so, this is where we need to kind of really, if we need to hire the assistant public works director to kind of be taking better you know, coordination with this, because when they come in here and just kind of screw up our whole city and then, you know, and we don't even know who's working on it. It just seems like we need to have a little bit of more hands-on stuff. It's their project, but when it creates a bunch of issues for our citizens, we need to be the ones to kind of run interference rather than tell people to go call ODOT, because that, you know, that's not very helpful. And it's much more efficient for us to just have one person running interference on some of this. And some of it's, we're just gonna have to eat it and, you know, lump it or, you know, like it or lump it. But there's certainly, you know, just status reports, what's, you know, people are asking, what about Mountain Festival? Is it gonna be done then? What's the timeline? What's the progress? What's the status? Let's figure it
Yeah,
out.
there's no timeline on their website other than this summer. So there's a whole webpage dedicated to this phase of work that they're doing. The only thing that I can see in terms of dates, what to expect the week of June 15th. Expect construction activity at the following intersections: Highway 26 in Industrial, Highway 26 in Reuben, Highway 26 in Bluff, Highway 26 in Strauss, Highway 26 in Nyack, Highway 26 in Lowell. It does not say which corner of those intersections. I know they try to stagger them so that you don't have all of them closed at one time. Although part of me thinks it would be easier to just have the impact of all of them closed at one time and get the darn thing done and move on to the next, instead of this, you know, chronically out of commission intersection. We can reach out. I don't know who.
I apologize. I'm looking at an email from April. So I don't know whether this has changed, but we may have a contact. So we could verify this and perhaps send it out to the council.
Well, and I just think that, you know, there should be somebody in Public Works. We have a big enough crew, or, you know, whoever y'all think it should be. I don't, you know, I'm not gonna micromanage, but I just want to kind of have somebody in the city who's responsible for coordinating and getting up downloads on, you know, what's the status, what's the progress, you know, just, yeah,
Let's
it's.
check their business license for the contractors, okay?
Deal.
But yeah, just, that would be helpful, just to be able to kind of share it. And as I said, it's gonna be just pain and misery for a little bit, but as long as people kind of understand what's going on, they can anticipate it, they can work around it. We can just do a better job of kind of communicating it for them. So thank you.
Mayor, it says we established a community livability committee. Is that an active committee at this point? Or?
It is getting more active as we roll. We kind of waited a little bit for Logan Stam to get on, and we focused on some of the homeless issues, but we also focusing on the code enforcement and the enforcement stuff. And Chris Riley was doing such a great job on getting a lot of that stuff that it took care of a lot of those livability issues that we had, because he was doing such a great job. I think the remaining livability issues tend to focus around some of the homeless issues, some of the homeless camps, and the kind of those things like that. But if there's other livability, you know, I mean, also was the solicitation issues that we had and the noise ordinances and things like that.
Oh,
And so-
yeah, no, I haven't heard of from the committee.
Yeah.
So.
It hasn't met recently, and that's one of our.
Yeah. But I'm planning to
objectives.
kind of get it together to talk about the homeless issues, because there's seems to be,
Cool.
yeah. And my goal on that is to kind of, you know, again, I'm pushing for having having the city staff have a map of where all the sites are, have a patrol schedule where they're patrolling them, and having, for the place down there on Champion Way, I want to have
It's
handouts that
right now.
kind of clarify, it is, and clarify what are the rules? Do you have to have your car licensed? Do you have to have it registered? What is the stay limit? 6 years, or, you know, 6 weeks, or what? You know, so I want a whole lot more clarification on how we're managing that area. That's kind of, yeah, so Rich is on that with me, and so, yeah, that's kind of, but I gotta say, on, you know, that all that said, all these other issues with the solicitation code and the, you know, and the code enforcement and the, you know, kind of the houses that some, you know, huge progress, so I feel pretty good about it all. But yeah, this one's kind of daunting, as we all know about, can be.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Go for it.
I'm looking at 8.4, the ensure proactive and efficient communication with residents, particularly regarding major projects and fee impacts. How is the outreach of the farmers market going? Is it
It's a great question. So I've been to 3 and I think you've gone to the last 2,
Mhm.
is that right?
Yeah.
Hit and miss, you have some people that are there just to do business, right? And they're not looking to engage or interact. Don't fault them for that. They're there to get their flowers or their vegetables. And so they just, kind of make a beeline past whatever we're doing. I think the first week that I was there, I made contact with a lot more than this, but I had 3 like real conversations. One was about development, one was about wastewater, and one was about the proposed ability enhancements that we made with the code in terms of noise and solicitation. So I think there's value. I don't think that we're reaching a ton of people, but I think people that we are reaching are happy to see someone from the city there and they have a random question and ask it and they get an answer right away. So I'm happy we're doing it. Open to feedback or suggestions if any of you have a more creative way to reach people. As you all know, we're doing that rotation with a different department there each week. And so it's not just specific to that department. We also have Jeff or I in terms of just general city representation. Councilor Ramsay, you've been there. I don't know about the last 2 weeks because I wasn't, but you have been a handful of times.
Mhm.
Mayor Walker, I know you came to the first 2.
I think so. Yeah.
So it's
I think if we can be over on the Pioneer side, you get a lot more foot traffic over there than you do kind of over on Proctor side.
So the Proctor side, we're only on the Proctor side if we bring a vehicle, so mobile library or
Oh, right,
trolley.
okay. All right.
So that
Otherwise,
was
we're-
last week. We had
Okay.
the library, yeah.
Otherwise, we are in the main tent in the middle, sort of
Okay.
smack dab in the middle of
Okay.
that tent. Which I think has its pros and cons too, because you get a little more foot traffic, but maybe not as visible because you don't have a shiny red trolley behind you or
Yeah,
a new
right.
bookmobile next to
Yeah.
you or mobile library next to you. So
We have a city vehicle, correct, with the Sandy logo on the side?
we do have a pool
If
car.
it's- If
Yeah.
it's not in use, that might be something to draw attention. We could put a balloon or something on it to get people to come over.
Park a bus on them.
Because under that tent, which is lovely if it's raining or it's 1,000 degrees.
Yeah.
But definitely the day we were there with the trolley, we had a lot of foot traffic come on that trolley.
There was,
And
I
a
wasn't
lot of
tracking that day.
engagement,
Yeah,
nonstop for
people like
the
that.
4 hours
Yeah.
or the
Kids.
3 hours we were there.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking a vehicle on that side, people aren't wondering what they're walking up. Greg was there with his, the Sandy Net with his little buggy-eyed little friends, which were cool.
Did you take
And-
the squeaky balls?
No, they're these little orange, these little yellow guys and you squeeze them and their eyes pop out.
Nice.
But he had the towers for the Sandy Net and he helped customers on the spot who came up and said, hey, my internet's really slow. And he goes, well, what's your address? And so that was really helpful to have the visual
Amazing.
there. Any visual, I think, is gonna draw more people in.
Yeah,
I mean, we could play with the beach balls all day, but
yeah.
you know,
No, I mean, there's people want to get something when they go to a booth, right?
Yeah.
And it's usually not just a question, like if you're there with your kids, you want to pick up something, flashy light, a nice spin the wheel and get something, there needs to be a little bit more of an interactive component to that. But I think overall it's
Free
been good.
utilities for a month.
oh,
Is there a motion for that idea?
And the longest day parkway this week, Thursday.
yeah.
So that'll be kind of another opportunity for all of us. Who else can go into that?
Trying to make it.
We'll see.
Got it.
Maybe.
Huh?
Maybe.
Okay.
Is there any way we could promote the farmer's market at the Longest State Parkway, or is that too much information in one spot? Cause it's all departments too, so Parks and Rec could do it.
For us to
Yeah,
promote, okay.
Well, we don't really have a ongoing practice of promoting like non-city
Not our
events.
Yeah, okay,
I just want to be, if we were to
yeah.
do that, I want to be careful about.
yeah,
We can promote that we're at the farmer's market as opposed to,
I would prefer to have the farmer's market representative at our longest day event doing self-promotion if we were gonna go down that route.
yeah. I get my events mixed up with all the people.
Yeah, no, there's a
Nothing
lot
keeps
going on.
somebody from wearing a
Representatives.
t-shirt walking around like a human billboard, you know?
Yeah, with one of Greg's little eye popping things and a beach ball and.
Any other comments on city goals, council goals? So thank you. That was a great update. And last but not least, report from city manager.
Okay, you're almost done with me.
Yeah, we did need to add that new goal, something about a finance director.
Well, that's, yeah, I didn't have any update for you here this evening beyond what I've already shared with you, which is that we have a vacancy. I guess what I will say is that evaluating the department and working with Angie to review the position description, and we're working on next steps for that role. We talked about Longest Day Parkway already. That's this Thursday. We've got our one and only summer concert tomorrow down in Meinig. Tom Petty, not the actual Tom Petty, but the next best thing. We
What
have
time is that again?
6 p.m. Tomorrow, Chief and I are going to Salem to present at the ODOT traffic review panel hearing for our speed reduction initiative that we're doing. We'll report back and let you know how that goes. I've been told not to expect a decision on the spot. So I don't know if that means absolutely you will not receive a decision, or maybe it's so clear cut that you might get one. I'll share more after the.
Do you have a PowerPoint or something? Do you have?
We've
package?
submitted a PowerPoint to them to help sort of
Yeah.
guide our discussion. It's the city of Sandy, and there's one other city that's for us presenting, just the two locations.
The reason I ask is, I mean, the kind of the feedback I get is like, oh, it's gotta be, it can either be 25 or 45 or whatever. And then you go to Estacada and it's 35, and you go to Boring and it's, I mean, and it just feels like it's sort of like vested rights. Well,
One of the things that's great is that Chief did a narrated video,
oh, great.
and it's part of the PowerPoint. So he did a
Fantastic.
great job with
Yeah,
it.
maybe
And he's
send
kind
it
of
to us.
narrating the whole
Would you send
time.
it to us?
We can,
Yeah, we got to.
it's way too big to email, so let me
Yeah.
figure out how to get that to
Did
you.
did he use his "you will comply" voice?
He's standing right there.
Grinning as you ask that question.
You can save it as a minimize, size and all, or even just post it on a Google Drive for us to look.
Maybe
at.
that'll be the answer, yeah.
We're also, leaning heavy into that stretch of Highway 26 has changed significantly since those speeds were set in, what year was it? Remind me? 1981.
Oh, my gosh.
And so some old aerial shots of what used to be in that area, what's there now, the substantial development that's happened in the Deer Point area. Many of those people use Langensan to get on and off the highway. And we got all the new development off of Vista Loop. So trying to really set the stage that, however many feet it is not the same road, and the context of that road is not, it's not the same.
Outdated.
It's residential, right? It's people's backyards about it. You've got lots of new homes going in near it. So we'll work on figuring out a way to get that shared with you all.
Great.
And then I'll report back how that goes. I'm sorry, I have just a few more things, but my computer turned off. We have made the decision to cancel the July 6th meeting. We didn't have anything scheduled for that agenda. It's also piggybacking off of the 4th of July holiday weekend, so we'll see you all back here on July 20th, for those of you that can make it.
And speaking of the 4th.
Speaking of the 4th, we have a fireworks show.
yeah.
Thank you. The July seems too far away for me. I'm not into July on my calendar yet. Yes, we have the 4th of July fireworks show. Huge shout out to Clackamas County Bank for their sponsorship of the fireworks again. It's a great partnership we have with them. So looking forward to the best one yet. And it's, a big
The same
anniversary.
location.
Yeah, all the same location. So we've got that in the next couple of weeks. We
I had a
also,
question on that. Somebody out of towner wants to come to that. They were like, where do you park? What's our suggestion for parking for those who don't live in the area?
yeah, so we have a map online or a visual online. If you get there early enough, and I hear it fills up fast, I've never driven into the high school lot, but there is parking there. you just need to be prepared to wait in line to vacate because there is I believe it's a 20-minute waiting period after the show is over to let the fallout zone clear before they open the gate and let traffic travel through again. Uh, So yeah, on the webpage for that event, we have a parking map that shows the relevant locations.
Thank you.
I've also been told that there's a great viewing spot behind Safeway, but I don't know with the trees that have grown if it's getting out of hands or not. Sorry, I just let a secret out, apparently. I didn't know that was top secret information.
It's terrible
Your
back
councils
there.
have a
Don't
party.
go. You can't see.
Can we get on the
anything.
roof of the Safeway? Maybe that's a better
Oh,
spot.
yeah.
Election filing window is open for the city of Sandy. Jeff, can you remind me the dates because I didn't write those down.
Oh, gosh.
I want to say it's 21st of August. But
So you can start, so the process is to come in and start filling out paperwork, and then you get approved to start gathering signatures. And you have actually, up to maybe even a couple of months to do that because in mid-August, it's time to come back and turn those in for verification. I think there's a window between August 5th and August 25th or something like that. It's all on the website. But yeah, so it is time now to come in and file that paperwork if you are interested.
So we've got 4 positions. It's always 4, right?
That's correct.
Always
Because the
It's always
mayor
4
is always
positions
right.
that are up for election and with vacancies that are happening too. For me, it was very helpful to meet with you,
Yes.
Jeff, when I was just thinking about it, and you kind of like helped me figure out what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
Do you have something on the webpage for wannabe or potential candidates to come and find info and get to you? And
Yeah, we sure do. And it lays out all the steps and actually, we call that the candidate briefing at the very beginning. And it's highly encouraged. I guess I can't require it, but we want to be able to walk everyone through the process, let them know what to expect, make sure it's going to go smoothly.
Did we lose Chris? I just want to say goodbye to him.
Let's see, his camera's off, but he's still in the meeting.
Okay,
Okay, 2 last things, and then I will wrap up.
I don't want you to leave before
Don't
we
leave.
say
Yeah,
goodbye.
don't leave. I do just want to take a brief moment. I don't know if you saw on the news, but St. Helens City Administrator had a incident in the Columbia River and has presumably passed away. So just want to take a brief moment to acknowledge the loss for their community and the impact that will have. He's been there for over a decade, and so certainly an incredible leader in the St. Helens community. Not just the city of St. Helens organization, but the whole city. And so just a really big loss for their entire community. And then a final thank you to Councilor Mayton. It's been a pleasure working with you. Appreciate your insight and your participation in our discussions and bringing your view to light. Just really enjoyed working with you, and I wish you the best.
All right. Great.
cool.
Done. Actually, I'm gonna say, let's go Chris first.
Absolutely.
Still on this end.
Oh, wow. Well, I already talked last time. It was tearful because of all the tragedy that happened. I guess I just want to say thank you again to everyone here. As I leave public service in Sandy, my hope is really that the future councils, this one and future ones, continues to make the great decisions that come in front of you that protect our current residents while also responsibly planning for our future for Sandy. And I know while I'm leaving the state, I have a daughter that lives here in Oregon, and I will be coming back, and I will stop through Sandy just to see what happens with it, because I took a vested interest after 5 years on the Planning Commission and almost 4 years in seat here is just to help it grow. Sandy is a special place because I think our residents care enough to engage and ask questions and hold us accountable, and that's important that they're going to keep doing that. And I'm just really appreciative that this council gave me an opportunity to, hear my voice and let me ask the questions that I needed for my own analytical brain to make sense of it. But at the end, I think your hearts and my heart were all in the same place. Our intention was good for the city of Sandy, and I'm a little sad to be leaving my term early, but also excited to start my next chapter in my life. So thank you all again. I appreciate it, and as I sign out tonight, I wish you all the best in your political careers, but more importantly, the best in your family lives. And take care of the city, please.
Thank you. Very nice. Very nicely said. Councilor Ramsey?
Oh, we're going backwards.
We are going backwards.
Let's see. I wasn't expecting that. I had transit meeting last Wednesday. The PG contract started. Construction began on the 11th. They are, for the charging stations, they are looking for completion by October and commission of the station, which is really exciting because they said the Fred Meyer ones take 50% longer than the new ones should. So a good investment for Andy and the transit department. She also played, they have a audio advertisement on iHeart Media Radio. It talks about Sam Squatch and safe, reliable. It's a really cool commercial. If you happen to hear it in transit, if you hear Sam Squatch, that's Andy's ad in the transit department. I've been talking to Andy and Tyler, kind of bouncing the idea off with Meinig closing, kind of doing a park shuttle so we can show our community where the other parks are and how easy they are to get to on public transit in Sandy on Sam. And so they are going to add a park to the Shoppers Shuttle to Bornstead in August, and then Deer Point in September. And they're going to add a couple of those throughout the summer to kind of give people an idea. They're going to do one to Cedar Park as well. So she's kind of going to do a park loop throughout the summer to just kind of let families know that the transit's there, it's safe, it's reliable, and it's free within the city. And so it just kind of promotes parks, promotes our community, and promotes the transit system and all of the good things that come from that. Transit also, she's looking to increase ridership on the Clackamas Town Center route. So if anybody wants to go to Clackamas Town Center, let people know that my teenager takes it, he loves it, it's safe, it's reliable. I don't worry about him being on any other system, and it gets there and gets him home safe. So, and it's $1 each way. So it's a really good option for people. Same to Estacada. I think there's 7 stops in Estacada several times a day. So it gets people where they need to be. And other than that, I have planning commission on Monday to sit down on that one, but I know that there was nothing on the agenda for July 6th, but I think we canceled it because I won't be here. Just, I'll be in Italy. I'll be flying over the United States during the fireworks on the 4th. So hopefully I'll get to see several time zones of fireworks as we go. Most likely I'll be asleep, but I will celebrate the same.
Great. Councilor Hanley?
Several meetings this week. Mountain Festival meeting, man, these folks work so hard. And the amount of time, effort, and energy and that they put into this festival is pretty unbelievable. We don't have another meeting before a Mountain Festival, so just to show up, it's pretty amazing. And speaking of showing up, Music Fair and Feast, also another group of people that put so much into what they do. So it's for sure the best time of the year in this for this community. It's actually why we bought our house right in town, is so that we get to walk to Mountain Fest. We get to walk to Music Fair and Feast. We get to take our chairs out for the parade 6 years in advance and put them on the anyway, show up. It's pretty incredible. Thank you to all of the people that put so much time into it. It's great for our community. And of course, the city has a million cool events that are happening at the same time. When my kids were young, we attended the pet show. I'm sorry, I'm going long, but I'm going
No,
on to
it's fine.
we attended the pet show, but I hate animals. So we got fish for the event. We had the fish for 2 days until we sent them to somebody else. But my youngest named her fish. And the cute people at the pet show, I mean, gave her an award for her fish named. Anyway, this community, it truly is the weirdest, funnest time. And anyway, I love it. So coming up on the best week of the year.
Yeah.
Just a reminder that even though our lives have moved on since the tragic events. Sorry, well, it would be like this every week for me. There are an awful lot of people in this community that are still hurting. And an awful lot of people that still need our love and support and patience and kindness and thoughtfulness. And there are GoFundMes and other ways to support these people, but this will stay with a lot of people for a long time. So keep them in your thoughts and in your, the forefront of what you're doing. Do we have an update that can be shared about Officer Thornton?
Chief, can you show that?
Garrett was moved to his rehabilitation center on Friday. And Officer Lang was assigned to him today to kind of get a new lay of his daily schedule. So we can figure out visitation and quite possibly get that projection of when he'll be released from rehabilitation.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah. He is progressing. Staying very positive.
Thank you. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Counselor Mayton, I want you to know how much your perspective has been important to me as, a relatively new counselor, being able to count on whatever else is going on, that your steady hand and clear perspective are going to be there. So I so appreciate it. Thank you. And you will definitely be missed, but so excited and happy for you for all the fun, exciting changes that you get to experience. Congratulations. That's it.
Thank you, Captain Hudson.
Thanks. So Councilor Mayton, she's talking about, all that stuff going on. She's talking about me and sitting next to me. And she can listen to you and see some stability, and that's been good. But I want to thank you again, just reiterating what we talked last week. You've been a real, I think it's a great example of somebody who gets on council, thinks, draws their own conclusions, asks questions, represents, and that's what this is all about. So I just want to say that, yeah, come back to Sandy anytime you want. Some things won't change. There will still be a Joe's. We'll still be doing ADA traffic work. Some things are constant.
I was going to tell Tyler when he goes down there and talk to ODOT, I should ask him when they're going to finish the Rubin 26 pad there for our pedestrian traffic.
Yeah.
I'll report back.
And Equine also going on to Councilor Hanley's talk about, the tragedy. For those of us who know those who are working in the police force, I mean, they're all struggling just like we are, and even more so beyond just Thornton. So just reach out to them, tell them we appreciate them. I had the opportunity this weekend to do that, and I think hopefully it's not trivial. They see it as what it's meant to be. Lastly, with the election coming up, I'd never really been super active in city level politics, did a little bit of the school board before I decided to run for council here. But my decision to run for council started with then Kathleen, now mayor, but then just Kathleen reaching out to me on Facebook and saying, you would make a great counselor, Dawn. It was just a casual, it's not like we were, chatting, messaging each other all the time. It was just kind of out of the blue to somebody we kind of worked together in the past. And it just got me thinking. And I think as we sit at this time of year, it's on all of us to reach out to those other people like me that just need a little nudge, somebody to say, I think you might be good at this, to maybe give them enough courage to come meet with Jeff and try it. And I also make yourselves, and I'll make myself available if somebody wants to talk about it. I interviewed most of the counselors before I ran. It was really insightful to kind of figure out what they thought a good counselor would be. So anyway, reach out, because we got to find the next generation, whether it's this cycle or the next one or whatever. I said before, 8 years and done. So I've got 2.5 more years to find my replacement. And that's really how I look at it. Groom. They don't have to vote like me or believe like me, but they got to have some passion and willing to come and do the work. So anyway, thanks, Chris, for doing that, and everybody else. So
Just to follow up on that, Counselor, I made sure that the information on running for office is now pinned to our newsfeed on the website homepage.
Cool.
Thank you. That'll be available.
Fantastic. Well, I also want to thank Councilor Layton. You've been just really an admirable counselor, because you have so much background knowledge with the Planning Commission experience that you had. You've got, private industry, commercial, retail, all that kind of experience is just so critical to what we do as counselors, to understanding how the city works and how it can do better in some ways, and how it can reach out to the members of the town and really make it everything that we'd like to see it. I think what I really love to see is, I think that we kind of come to these meetings and we do what we do, but then when you kind of step back, and so you've been doing this for like a decade now, right? This is a decade of your life. I mean, that's huge. And to have a decade of your time in your life that you devoted to this town, it's a legacy that you just left, and it will not be easily replaced. So I just would love to see you look back on the legacy of the parks that you helped open, and the trails and the improvements that we made to our water treatment plant and our wastewater treatment plant. And, some of those things are fun and some of those are less fun, but they're hugely important to people enjoying the livability and the community of Sandy. So I really thank you for the efforts and contributions, and mostly just your friendship. You're always just level-headed. You come in with those great smiles and a full beard, and just kind of, keep it pretty level and smile a lot. And it's really, it's great to look over at you, and just kind of, it raises my, like this, don't take this too seriously, because, it's important, but you really set the example there. So I really appreciate working with you these 5+ years. So really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for all the effort, and we're going to miss you. But I'm also, if I get out to Colorado, I'm going to look you up. So
Look me up. Well, thank you. I want to tell something real fast, if I may. So I got up this morning at 2:30 this morning and left my home in Sandy to catch a 5 a.m. flight to Denver. And today I spent the day looking for apartments in Denver, and I found one and signed one, which I'm going to be paying twice the price I am for my house in Sandy for a third of the size of a place here in Denver. But that's beside the point. But I was a half an hour early for my first appointment, and I needed a haircut. As bald as I am, I needed a haircut. And I walked in and I asked if they could do it quickly. And the guy that came up to cut my hair, the barber, we got to talking, and ironically, he was from Oregon originally, and not Sandy, but boring, actually. So he knew Sandy. So it's just a small world it is. And then I toured a couple of apartments, and then I went to lunch at Whole Foods. And I'm standing in line at Whole Foods talking to somebody, and sure enough, they were from Portland. I was like, this world is too small. So I just thought that was a good story. We're everywhere. And people know, maybe not everyone knows about Sandy, but they know about Oregon. And Sandy's a big piece of Oregon. I was looking up historical council pictures. I think the earliest picture for Sandy City Council was in 1874, I found. I mean, it was great. I mean, people have been doing this a long time, and they'll be doing it long after we're all gone. But the work we do while we're here is important, and I thank you for all the kind words from all of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I don't have a lot to say. One of the things I do, I am gonna kind of be talking, about the livability, task force with the homeless issues on Champion Way. It just seems like there's stuff all over the sidewalks that blocking, there's broken down cars that don't appear to have any licensing and, I think a lot of them are camped out in the, blackberries there on the adjacent property. So just trying to see if we can't get a better approach to kind of keeping up on that. So especially now that we have two code enforcement officers that are really hardworking. So I appreciate their effort on that. I know it's a hard job. I'm going to be riding in the parade and enjoying the rest of the city and the fireworks and all that. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to certainly look. I was just wearing my Longest Day Parkway from pajamas last night, and halfway through today, I looked down, I thought, okay, I'm set for the Longest Day Parkway, but I better go get something a little more dressed up for the city council meeting. But thank you all for your hard work, and I appreciate it. Yeah, and I do have an interest in continuing to reach out to the victims and their families. I think in the police department and Garrett and his family, I kind of just want to, give them a little time to kind of, it's just going to take time. But, when they're ready and they want to talk about a memorial or something in one of the parks, it's kind of whatever, I want us to, I want us and the staff to kind of be able to reach out and ask them what they'd like. So, but especially most importantly is, are they getting the help they need? And what can we do to help build that? So, maybe there's some special things we can do with them around the Mountain Festival and all. That was probably that kind of thing is usually a big memory, like you said, for the pet shows and all that stuff. For kids, it's a huge memory for them when they grew up in Sandy doing that. So, yeah. All right. Well, anything else for the good of the order? Great. Being adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
It's a pleasure
Take care.
working with you.